Morning, Ravens fans. No, last night was not a horrible dream. In fact, it was a very, very real nightmare that I still cannot believe. But at the same time, given how this season went, I can 100% believe it. Look, I think it is time for John Harbaugh's run to end as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. You can't tell by my voice the fact that it's almost gone. I did a lot of screaming last night. I'm going to continue to scream this point over and over again until a change is made. I just think it's time for something new. It's time for something fresh. John Harbaugh has run its course. It's great. You got a Super Bowl out of it, a lot of great memories, but it's time for a change in Baltimore. And every like on today's show is one signature on our Fire John Harbaugh petition. So if you want him gone, just like I do one big favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Today on the program, top 10 John Harbaugh replacements. A segment we've done before. I believe we did it after the loss to, was it the Chiefs in week 4? I think after the Chiefs, the Texans game. Then we did it again after the loss to the New England Patriots. Well, we're doing it now because we did get this update yesterday from Adam Schefter that apparently John Harbaugh's future with the Ravens is, quote, up in the air. Now, this is a new update than we've gotten like all offseason long or all season long. Pretty much all season long, everybody said, yeah, look, I think John Harbaugh is going to be back with Baltimore next year. And that was kind of it. This is the first time from a guy who's as connected as Adam Schefter is that we've heard there's a chance he's not back. Well, if he's not, who should replace him? My number one target, Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He has been my number one throughout the entirety of this season. I've talked a lot about play like a Raven is dead. It's gone. That does not exist anymore. Brian Flores would bring that back. Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings this year are like a top 4 defense in the league, and they've got like middle tier talent defensively. I love how aggressive he is when it comes to blitzing. I love his philosophies. I love the way he sets up his defenses, putting 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, 8 guys at the line of scrimmage. I love the intensity that he coaches with. I love his leadership abilities. I love the fact that he's already been a head coach before and he's failed because he knows exactly what to do differently next time. I like that you'd be pairing him up with a quarterback that is not a young quarterback who's been in the league for a very, very long time. I like everything about Brian Flores. I think he could bring the toughness back to Baltimore. Number 2, Jesse Minter. A guy who obviously has those Baltimore ties. He's got the Harbaugh ties as well. Won a national championship in Michigan after leaving Baltimore, and then currently coaches as the defensive coordinator for Los Angeles Chargers for one Jim Harbaugh. This is a young and up-and-coming name. And if he does not get a head coaching job this cycle, I believe that at some point in the next 2 cycles, he will get a head coaching job. This will be an NFL head coach in the future. I can almost promise you that. I like that he knows what this franchise is about. He was with this franchise for their last kind of years of really solid, dominant, tough, physical defenses, and I believe that he can bring that mentality. I also like the fact that he's young. I like the fact that he brings fresh new ideas and fresh new connections to these players. Robert Saleh is number 3, defensive coordinator for San Francisco. I think he's done an unbelievable job with San Fran this year. Look, San Fran has a top 5 defense, and they lost Fred Warner for the year. Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football. They lost Nick Bosa for the year. Nick Bosa, when healthy, is a top 5, top 7 edge rusher in the game. And their defense is still dominant. I always say this when we talk about him. I think Robert Saleh got a bad hand in New York. He was given a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. who tore his Achilles 4 plays into their first year together. He then was basically told by management, let this 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers run the team, basically. Bring all his guys in. There's a reason that New York has not had success in decades. It's because it's a poorly run franchise. It'd be hard to be a head coach there. Ask Aaron Glenn. Robert Saleh, I believe, could still be a head coach in the league. Klint Kubiak, offensive coordinator for Seattle. I would love to see what Klint Kubiak does with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers, because what he is doing with Sam Darnold, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is taking this league by storm. Seattle's offense is so fun to watch, so dynamic, and it's all because of Klint Kubiak. It truly is. They got Mike McDonald running that team at head coach. He's the defensive guy. He's the head coach of the offense. He's had a lot of success and a lot of different stops. I think he would immediately come in here and fit right in. And then Chris Shula, defense coordinator for Los Angeles. Look, I feel like Chris Shula is a guy who gets a little bit overshadowed because he does coach for the Los Angeles Rams, which is a team that is dominated by what many people think is the best head coach in football, just in general, with Sean McVay. But I also think that their defenses get often overlooked. What he's able to do with that talent on that defensive line, in that secondary. Look, it's not going to be long before he has a head coaching job. He coaches with toughness, physicality. I like a lot about Shula. I also like a lot about PrizePicks, our awesome sponsor on today's show. And whether you are starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And PrizePicks lets you take control. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. With the new social feeds feature, you can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow PrizePicks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. I hope that you tailed my picks for last night's game. I took the more on Derrick Henry rush yards. That one was good by a mile. More on Aaron Rodgers pass yards. That one was good by a mile. And more on Zay Flowers, half a receiving rushing touchdown. He got 2, both in the fourth quarter as well. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. For the final 5 candidates, we're not going to go as into detail on them. I gave you my top 5. Here are another 5 that I believe you need to at least keep an eye on. Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator of Green Bay. Now, I don't know how good of a fit Jeff Hafley is in Baltimore. Of the defensive coordinator options, I don't think he's at the top of the list, fit-wise. I think he might be a New York Giant if he gets offered that job. And unless Green Bay's defense kind of turns things around the postseason, might be a year too early for Jeff Hafley. Number 2, Anthony Weaver, a guy that had a lot of shine on him, obviously, after that 2023 season in Baltimore. There is a chance that the staff in Miami gets totally canned, and he will be wanting a new job. Even if they don't all get canned, he would easily take that coaching position. He knows what it's like to win in Baltimore. He knows what the franchise is like. Again, toughness, physicality, that's what he'd bring. Talk about toughness and physicality. How about a head coach for the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning, in the middle of coaching his team to the semifinals of the college football playoff, 1 win away from making it to the national championship. The question mark with college guys is, will they be able to hire a staff in the National Football League? That question remains for Dan Lanning. But his ability to coach players, his ability to be a leader, to have guys want to run through a brick wall for him, I don't question that one bit. Jon Gruden. This one's kind of just for fun. I think it'd be an interesting hire. I think it'd be a too much of a risk for Baltimore. You're just not in a spot with Lamar Jackson getting older that you need to be taking these kinds of coaching risks. But it'll be fun to cover. I'll tell you that much. And last up, Kliff Kingsbury, or offense coordinator, head coach over there in Washington. I wouldn't be too jazzed up about Kingsbury, if I'm being honest. Think he'd do fun things with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. He's at least a name to keep an eye out on, but I'd be very, very surprised. That's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/RavensTV. We'll be keeping you updated on this, John Harbaugh's job security, throughout the rest of this week. If something goes down, it's going to be this week. So, if I was a betting man, I'd say he's still your head coach in 2026, but who knows? Make sure you subscribe.